This is the Lydian Spin with Tim Dahl, episode number 220. Still
Yes.
scattered around the globe until tomorrow when we reconvene.
Yes. I'm currently in Munich or outside of Munich, and I'm going to fly back tomorrow to New York, and then we will meet in the evening, rehearse, and then fly out the next day to Orlando to do our little Florida, Georgia tour, which I'm looking very much forward to.
Should be fun. Me
Yes.
too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yesterday was like a solar flare in my head. There were so many issues I had to deal with. Very, very annoying. I don't know why. It's like almost everything that I had already organized, I had to rearrange for some reason or another. It's just
That's
bizarre.
that's annoying. We had a real crazy person at our show yesterday who just like was freaking out and screaming and running around, and I don't know. It was
Something was
annoying.
going down. I don't exactly know what.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. She should have just
no
left.
idea.
Yeah.
Solar flare in my head, and it extended outwards to everything else.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So anyhow, well, since we were going to Florida,
I think Florida must be the state we report more stories on than just about anywhere else.
kind of. Well, the NAACP is now again restating it, giving a travel advisory thing about basically if you're a person of color, like they're saying it's just maybe it's a hostile environment, or if you're LGBTQ plus, it's
Or
a hostile environment. I mean,
yeah,
based on what
plus,
DeSantis, yeah, I mean, we'll go there and we'll represent and give what we can to the people that
well,
we agree with.
I represent every outsider as usual because we are basically outsiders. So we will be there to represent. And again, I recently had a few arguments with people. They're like, why do you go there? I mean, you should have a cultural boycott. I'm like, if I would have a cultural boycott of 174 out of 194 countries. It's like, I don't believe in any country's politics or states. I hate them
Right,
all. I'm
right,
against them all. And what I am for is that, 150 or 200 individuals that come to any given show.
right.
It's like, Tampa was complaining that the place in Miami is like neo-Nazi. I'm like, excuse, the whole state is neo-Nazi and the whole country. What are you talking about? So I'm like, do you want to cancel your show because some people complain to you about where I'm playing when I support none of this but the freaking individual and the right to play wherever I
Uh,
want? So
people
dumb.
want. Well, I mean, people want. I'm in Europe right now, and people do all that all the time. Oh, you're American, blah blah blah. But their information is coming from televisions and things like this. They don't see it for themselves, or have critical
Well,
thinking
look,
and
and
judge
let's
for
face it,
themselves.
what they've seen on television is a freaking nightmare because this country is in a state of absolute insanity and only accelerating with every passing day. Now, all right, there might be a little bit of good news here. Now, we like our
Okay.
animals, Tim.
Oh, love them. I'm with two right now, but
Yeah, at least.
no, yeah, at
Don't
least.
insult it. Don't insult the animal
Uh-huh.
kingdom. Well, I myself have been known as the lizard queen. I've had a few lizards in my day. And it's interesting because scientists are now developing a new cost effective coating, like a paint, that can adjust to temperature of buildings. So without using any additional energy. And it's inspired by a desert dwelling chameleon. So, because they can change their colors in order to
Yep,
regulate their
yep.
temperature. So this, I mean, it's the same. We also, I think we talked about it a couple of months ago, that they've also created this super, super white paint, which is going to
Yes.
deflect heat. I mean, these are the things, these are the innovations that need to be quietly or not quietly done because every little thing like this does help. Two people cleaning the Pacific garbage patch. It helps. They've cleaned up millions of pounds of crap. We can't, of course, I, as a positive nihilist, I never give up hope. I always think there is hope, and not for us to quote Kafka, Franz Kafka. By the way, we have Franz or Franz Stahl on the show today.
Yes.
So anyway, the development of this coating is very interesting. It involves like thermochromatic microcapsules. It's going to be, this is the kind of stuff we need to know about, hear about, and utilize. Come on, paint me now.
I mean, so, okay. So, and when is this going to hit the market?
Well, how long does it take for them to when things are being tested? Who the hell knows? But anyway, spring and fall, they said, is when the coating would be unique in its ability to adapt to broad swings in temperature. So, right now, I mean, a big climate concern to me is the salt water leaching into the drinking water of New Orleans. Have you heard about that?
I did not. I've been out of touch with the North American news.
Well, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I mean, so what's going on is, I mean, it's
Well,
contaminated, I
it's
guess.
that kind of a drought. There's a drought. There's flooding in other areas and a drought, but the Mississippi down by New Orleans, the salt water is starting to encroach upon drinking water. If there isn't a massive rainstorm, you think they get a lot of rain down there, but they need more
So,
because this can damage food sources, drinking
for
water.
sure.
Most American water is poisonous anyway. We know that because we've had cracked water in
Uh,
Scandinavia once. And
yeah, I mean,
speaking of, yeah, we did have that cracked water.
I mean, brackish drinking water. Yikes! I mean, but
Salt water.
but yeah, exactly. Well, brackish. Yeah, it's like half and half. I would say, but there is a technology to actually convert salt water into drinking water, but it's extremely expensive, and it's a very involved process. But
Well, all the climate
we'll
deniers that say everything is so extremely expensive. How many billions upon billions this year alone in damages to
well
towns, villages, cities, and states have been done by what they are freaking
well
denying?
absolutely, and that's the biggest lie about the giant big business, well, just big business industrialist capitalists. They like to brag about how they're these great business people and that they're these wonderful capitalists, but they actually, a lot of them, if you include the collateral damage and the environmental destruction that they often cause, they don't profit. Now they do grease the wheels in DC to get the people to pay for their fuck ups, but technically, just on paper, they're not profiting. The amount of damage and the costs of a lot of the things they do ends up costing more than what they're profiting. So it's a total bullshit, actually.
Well, I would say they're dumber, these corporate soldiers, or no, they're actually quite clever, but they're, people, another one of my favorite animals is the jellyfish. Now, there's
Of
new
course.
research on the box jellyfish because we just thought they were just, creatures with no brains and just like, weird cells floating all over the ocean looking for something to sting. But there's a new study that says actually the box jellyfish has an ability to alter its behavior based on experience. In other words, it's got some kind of bizarre memory in its
Well,
nervous system. So it has a proficiency in assessing distances and adapting their hunting strategies daily, despite their limited nerve cells. So the scientists are now studying this. Like, how can something that we think has no brain, but then again, humans have brains, and look what we're friggin' doing. I mean, we need to study the jellyfish a little bit more completely. So
well,
anyway, if you want to
yeah.
understand complex structures, it's you start simple, okay? So therefore, we're starting with simple nervous systems in the jellyfish, and it's trying to understand the details and how it performs its behaviors. Very, very interesting.
I mean, a
I love
box
the
jellyfish, I
jellyfish.
would run.
2,000 species of them. Go ahead.
Well, the box jellyfish I'm thinking of are the ones up in northern Australia. I mean, you get stung by those. Well, there's a good chance you could die. It's really brutal. And I mean, you don't want to be swimming up near Darwin, anyways. I mean, that's like nothing but saltwater crocs, box jellyfish, bull
Yeah,
sharks.
well, the jellyfish that they're
It's
studying are the ones that they're studying are actually the ones in the Caribbean mangrove swamps, which are some of the
okay.
most venomous. So that's who they're going after, the Caribbean box jellyfish. There's so many
Uh,
deadly jellyfish.
oh
Oh, they're
gosh,
so beautiful. They're like crystal clear. They just look like a
I know.
glass orb with with dreadlock glass tentacles. Oh, I love it.
Yikes. Speaking of deadly things, Taylor Ska Business is her name, SCHA Business. I don't know what Wisconsin murderer. She was on trial. Of course, she comes in in chains, cuffed. I mean, she was nuts out of her mind. Insane meth head. Well, she and her boyfriend were having some chem sex, if you will, and she went a little bonkers and started choking him, but it wasn't any kind of fun, rough play. It was she was trying to murder him, and she did murder him, and she decapitated him, and then started dismembering different body parts and sexually playing with them, and then this is during the trial, she attacks her own defender. I mean, really insane. They found all the body parts in all over the place. I mean, it was in her crock pot. I mean, it was just she's put the body parts.
I think I heard. I think I heard maybe a relative of one of the victims go, "I hope they do to you what they did to Jeffrey Dahmer."
Yes, that was the uncle of the guy who got decapitated, and the whole courtroom erupted in a standing ovation. Well, basically, it took the it took the jury 1 hour to unanimously say she's guilty.
As an investigative crime reporter of the lowest order, I mean, some things are just so freaking obvious that there's no reason to even have a trial. Hence, really good news today when New York, the Southern District, shot down the ass clown's attempt to have his fraud trial thrown out. Like, she's like, people were saying, this doesn't even need a trial. Trump is so notorious for ripping everybody and everything off forever. Forget it. You're going down. And I think the start of the trial might be next week. That's the best news I've had in a while.
I don't know. My gut feeling these days, I think he might win. I don't know. It's telling me
he's not going to look. I really don't think he's going to lose in Georgia or New York. I don't. He's got.
Well, I mean,
I'm not sure about that. Such a freaking idiot. He's getting more boisterous with every passing day, threatening execution to people, threatening everything. It's treasonous. Anyone that doesn't agree with him, I mean, he's totally demented. He's like, his brain has been inhabited by all dictators past, and because even though he's got a mushroom-headed, so I've heard, he's still a fucking dick. All I'm saying.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I'll be back in the.
He ain't no Dick Cheney. He ain't that smart.
No, Dick Cheney is an evil genius, and no boy.
Yeah, and Trump is just an idiotic despot. So whatever. Anyway, I love America. What it's supposed to stand for. Yes. American hardcore coming up next, because I really love hardcore, but I don't mean music when I say hardcore. I'm just saying I like hardcore. We'll be right back. All right. Well, in not putting the punk in punctuality, we were supposed to have Franz Stahl of Scream, who have a new record out in Dischord now, having started in, I guess, 79 in Virginia. Dave Grohl was their original drummer. I don't even know hardcore. That's not my scene, but I am hardcore in many ways. And it was going to be an interesting interview, but I hear there's some kind of, I don't know what's been going on the last few days, Tim. There's a bunch of solar flares just extending out into the atmosphere.
Well, I'm glad to know that before I get on a transatlantic international flight. That's good to know.
There's been a lot of cancellations. I hope you get in. It's like it's not raining here. I don't know where the big deficit is, but soon we'll be in sunny, hellacious Florida, where nothing can go wrong.
Well, it's gonna be like 90 degrees in Orlando. It's just like
the only thing that can happen is maybe we'll faint and hit our head on the sidewalk. But other than that, I mean, I be used to it after New Mexico and Texas. I guess.
I mean, Berlin, like Poland. It's like in the mid 70s. I mean, this late in September, it's even 80 degrees is unheard of. It's kind of insane.
Climate boiling. I mean, look, we're in the disaster zone. It's what it is, but. We got to get used to it. They say the only safe place is where?
No, there are no safe spaces. And well, going back to hardcore and DC hardcore, I mean, DC is I feel like that music scene's never coming back, right? I mean, it's like,
Well, let's recall our last visit to DC when I had food poisoning and was,
yeah,
since I never get sick unless it's food poisoning or something absolutely atrocious. But of course, the show must go on. We're show focused, what we do. I really thought I was going to have to cancel that show because I was just. And the thing
no,
is,
you were
I
ill,
knew, I knew with one bite of something, I'm like, this is, and it wasn't a freaking salad. But you got to watch out for those vegetables. You never know who touched them.
correct.
But I remember being at the Black Cat in DC, and people shooting rats in the back alley. That's what happens in DC.
Yeah, well, I mean, but DC is now, I think it's the wealthiest mean,
That's
whatever
one part of it.
income.
One part of
It's
it.
yeah. So it's become one part of it, but I think it's like the most amount of millionaires
I think
live in
that's
DC.
spring. I think that's what is it called?
Yeah.
Silver Springs.
Well, there's definitely rough parts, but it's extraordinarily expensive
It ain't no
to.
Baltimore.
Well, I must be talking Metro DC because just in oh, I'll tell you a fun DC story. This is
Oh,
really
do
crazy.
tell. Give me a DC. Give me a DNC.
It was like I think I was hanging with the McMahons in Baltimore. In Baltimore, if it's not rush hour, it's like a 45-minute drive. And I decided to do, I don't know why, I went to like some museums in DC.
Well, because Tim, on tour, you do investigate things. You do investigate nature. You occasionally go to a museum. You do like to sniff around.
So upon my arrival, I see this guy
Sniffy
in
doll.
in like a what do you call it? What's a suit that a white suit like in New Orleans? It's I'm so
Leisure
tired right now
suit.
from no, but it's made with the fabric. It's
Linen.
linen. Yeah, this guy's in a linen suit.
By the way, linen is one of the worst fabrics because you sit down, it's wrinkled. I don't get that fabric. Go ahead. I
Yeah,
like to wear clothes that
people
have
are into it. So this guy, he's wearing a linen suit. He's got kind of like
a white linen suit.
white linen suit, shoulder length, dark hair, and
Balding at the back or not?
no, kind of
Okay, just
full, but
asking.
like a really heavy, thick kind of hair, like say someone from Japan would have. It's kind of like it's not frizzy at all. It's so
It's
I
it's
just
it's
remember
a it's a it's a wig of hair.
I remember this, but he's feeding pigeons with breadcrumbs. I'm like, what's going on? Already, it's a little weird. And he gets down on his knee, or not squats. He doesn't go on his knees, squats, and then with like a
You
little
don't want to get
kind of.
those white linen knees dirty. He had to squat. God damn. Go ahead.
So then he just quickly jets his hands and grabs one of the pigeons, and he has it. Yeah, and he has it in his hand. And I'm like, I'm walking by. I'm like, the fuck is this guy doing? And then I
Well,
see
first of
him
all,
get.
Tim, I mean, birds in general, but pigeons? How many mites and parasites live on those filthy rats with wings? Go
So
ahead.
so then I think I'm kind of passing, but I'm kind of looking back a little bit to see what the hell's going on here. What's this guy gonna do? At which point, with his thumbs, he just puts pressure on the neck and basically decapitates this fucking pigeon. And I was like, did I just
Wait, blood.
see?
Wait. Blood on the linen or no? He was an expert pigeon killer.
He had blood on his hand. I was like, did I see what I no? I was like, I couldn't have seen what I decided. What? And so I did my museum, so that just kept on haunting me in the back of my brain. What's going on?
Well, that
And
was the
and
museum
so
of pigeon torture.
no, and so and then on the walk back, I was like, I must have imagined that kind of thing. And basically, and there it was. There was the corpse of a decapitated pigeon on the ground. The guy actually had done it. I don't know if he's like a serial killer or I don't know what he was definitely a nutcase, but yikes.
I
That
mean,
was
I mean, he should have applied for the rat catcher job of New York City because I hear that even though they have a rat catcher, that it's just out of control that even and who trusts anybody, but the mayor has had the third citation for the building he owns for too many rats.
rats are not my thing. I mean, those
Well,
things.
they're unfortunate, but there are more of them than us probably. And by the
I don't know
way,
if that's true, but
I mean, rats are they're horrifying, but it was not the rat that spread the Black Plague. And I'm going back to one of my favorite
oh,
books
I
bought
know.
for 50 cents on St. Mark's Place called Rat's Lice in History. Yes, it is one of my favorite books because that's where I got the line that bombs, bullets, or bayonets. No, fleas have killed more men, and therefore I love the louse. I mean, a flea is not really a louse, but I'll call him a louse. And it was the field mouse because rats basically tend to stay near their nest, but field mice ran far and wide. And they're actually, and how I learned this fact, besides my favorite book, Rat's Lice in History, is once when I was in Lisbon, of course, I'm going to go to the pharmacy museum there, being, you know, a budding nurse, just as Simon. I've been tending his wounds recently. Mm-hmm. And there happened to be in Portugal an English speaking professor on the history of the field mouse and the plague. Yeah, I love it.
I was getting bitten by a lot of mosquitoes on this trip. More so than I remember, but we're gonna be in Florida, and hopefully we don't get
West Nile.
Yeah, well, West Nile's not that bad. What was the one that was giving like babies deformed heads and stuff? That was it started with a Z or Zika virus. Yeah.
Look, I mean, you know, speaking of viruses and the plague, I mean, there is a heavy rotation of people with COVID now. I mean, 5 people I've heard of in the past week. This is kind of ridiculous. I, not having had it, I don't plan on getting it. And I've been near people that have had it, and I'll run and get another shot if I have to. I don't know if the 4 shots helped that I got in the beginning of this or not. I never had a flu shot before.
You might have
a flu shot.
You might have super immunity. Going back to insect bites, Weasel on this tour was bitten by spiders.
What? Now him. That's wow.
Yeah.
Where?
I think Berlin.
I mean, where on his person?
Oh, on his arm and somewhere else. Yeah, but
let Weasel tell the story because you know he's got some stories about my spider bite that we might need to retell. So I want to hear about the spider bite. Look, we're not immune. That's 3 out of 4 members of Retrovirus have been bitten by the deadly spider.
Hold on. Let me see what's going on here.
By the way, Simon, I never showed you because I didn't know you then, but when it bit my beautiful right breast, it was a necros the size of a quarter. It was horrifying. Oh, it almost killed me, of course. And again, I mean, I must be allergic because all right, so Weasel, 3 out of 4 members of Retrovirus have now been bitten by a spider. Does that mean we all have to bite Kevin Shea? I don't know. Maybe we need to. What happened?
I think so. Let's bite Kevin Shea.
Where did it bite you?
Let's bite him. We'll bite him.
I might have already bitten him. Where did the spider bite you, Weasel?
Oh, I don't know. I just was scratching my leg and I looked down and there are all these nasty little bites with little close marked teeth together. You know, first thing people think is like, ooh, you got bed bugs or something, but that's a different pattern where they kind of like usually bite and then like move a little bit and bite elsewhere. But these you could see 2 little tiny little pincher marks like this.
Well, that's very strange. I mean, you being an expert in one of the 3 spider bites I had because it was your job and you were so gracious about it, having to squeeze the pus out of my spider bite on my white ass cheek. But I don't think there were any little bite marks there. But I mean, it was very kind of you to do that. But you know, like I'm now tending to Simon's. Weasel, we've had to tend to each other's wounds in the past, and I love it.
Well, I mean, Jeff Hanneman from Slayer had a notorious spider bite that he claims ultimately killed him. I don't know. Some people say he just drank himself to death, but sort of like a Lyme disease kind of situation. It kind of did something to him. I don't know what the fuck that was.
Doesn't a spider usually just bite you once or twice? I mean, you had repeated little teeth. Did you get your magnifying glass out, Dr. Walter?
No, I mean, you could just see it. I mean, I looked at the little wounds.
Will you show me tomorrow so I can examine it, please?
Yeah, I mean, you might not even. Yeah, sure, you can check it out, but I looked really close because I was like, what is this? Because the first fear is that it's bed bugs. And you're like, oh, I don't want bed bugs. You know,
well, they leave a triangular pattern from my investigation, never having had them. It's nice to reserve.
Exactly. But I swear you could just see 2 little boop, like two little
Well,
bite marks
when
close to
when
each other.
Casey and I were in, I don't know, one of those Texas towns, and we were at some Airbnb, and there was a marble table, and suddenly, because I remember in Italy, Casey picked out a tiny ant that was in my hair. He claimed it was about to go into my mouth, which I thanked him for. Of course, that's the gentlemanly thing to do. So we're in this Airbnb on this black, white, gray marble table, and the eagle eye of Casey goes, "What's that?" And there were at least a dozen really tinier than ants. I thought they might be wood mites. And we even tried to photograph it to blow it up, but they were so small you couldn't even blow up the image. And yeah, it was rather nasty. Nobody got bitten. Everybody's safe.
Well, we were just in
They went away.
we were just in Lyon, France, CCL, and oh yeah, that was one of the rooms had a big ant infestation, like in the it was insane. And
Wait, one of the rooms you were staying in had an ant infestation.
We
You're showing
well,
me your
sometimes our
finger,
accommodations are
bites.
not 5-star quality, let me tell you. And we were staying in a certain dorm room in this place, and I looked up, and by the window there was a swarm of ants up upon the wall, and I was just like, and then I saw a huge like daddy long leg spider like next to it. And I was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Can you hear me?
Can't see ya. Would like to.
no, we hear you.
Okay, cool.
We having a problem today, buddy? I mean, the last few days, everybody things have been going wacky for everybody. Are you okay? Everything good?
Everything's good. Just got back from DC. Well, actually, I thought this was happening tomorrow. The way he explained it, Dan, I thought it was tomorrow. I'm out there working on my car. I'm trying to get a car started. And he's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, where am I?"
Let's just introduce. So, first of all, is it Franz or Franz? Is it like Kafka or is it like Franz?
No, it's if you went to school, it's Franz.
Franz. Well, I dropped out, but I'll say Franz. This is the Lydian spin. We had a little
Yeah.
delay getting Franz Stahl of legendary DC, originally from Virginia, hardcore, if you want to call it that, band Scream that has a new celebratory record out on Dischord anytime now with a bunch of his buddies.
Yeah.
So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is quite a treat.
Did you get your car? Did you get your car working though? You're just in the driveway.
It's you know what? It's still running right now because I'm trying to juice the battery, but I did get it started. And apparently, in your details, you guys take a 30-minute smoke break, or is that not on today?
Well, is that what you want now? You want one already?
No, I'm gonna let the car run until apparently you do
Oh
this
yeah, yeah. No,
30-minute
we don't
smoke
take a
break.
30-minute. We take like a 5-minute break just because we gotta restart everything.
That's
But
what it was in the email from Dan.
well, he doesn't seem to get too much right, but that's all right. Let's be back on to us.
I think
Are you?
it's lost in translation with his Russian. He's Russian.
That's no excuse. I'm rushing to get this fucking podcast done.
No.
There you go.
Are you in Los Angeles now?
Yes, I am. I've been out here for 20 plus years.
Jesus Christ, how do you deal with it?
By going on the road.
Yeah. No, I lived in LA twice. I mean,
know.
I enjoyed it when I lived there, but you know what? Yeah. So, if you don't mind, what neighborhood do you live in?
I live in Sherman Oaks,
Okay, that makes sense.
and I thought you were out here, but well, obviously, and when I saw the time for the interview, I realized you weren't. But
I'll be
yeah,
out
I
there
thought you were
I'll be out there in a couple of weeks. I'll
right on.
invite you. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I thought you were living here.
Yeah, you might be gone. You might be. We've avoided each other so far. We haven't met yet. So I mean,
I don't
what's
know how that's happened, but yeah.
another 40 years under the, whatever under the chassis. What's wrong with your car? You got to have a car in LA. What's wrong with it? You got to. Do you have
Well,
like a souped up Charger, 1967 Charger?
I have a Ram truck.
Nice.
I'm a teamster. I work in the film business, so I need my truck periodically.
What do you do in the film business?
I'm a teamster, and I, drive 5 tons, 10 tons, and anything else just about. But I mainly work in the art department, facilitating set dressing, stuff like that. The arty side of the business,
So,
you
okay,
know.
let's talk about set dressing for 1 second. So, you're basically like an interior curator of shows.
Well, number one, I solely work on TV commercials, and I wouldn't say I'm the interior curator. The decorator, the production designer would pretty much be curating the idea. And what I like to say is that we're just high price movers because basically we're going to prop houses or retail or set shops, and we're just picking up the pieces that we're going to transform this room, location, whatever, into what idea they need, like a kitchen or a doctor's office or a ranch, whatever it may be. So we basically go in there and dress the set to
Any
their
favorite
idea.
sets that you've dressed? I know that it's kind of just go get this and do that, but were there any that you go, actually, that was pretty freaking cool?
I've done, oh my God, there's just too many to say. I mean,
Well, that's good.
uh,
Doing it. If you think
yeah,
cool ones, that's great. Did you see the Harmony Korine produced 7-Eleven commercials that came out a little while ago? They were pretty outrageous.
the Harmony Korine, I did not. What is,
Oh, they were really, I just check it out. They were really, first of all, 7-Eleven, but they actually made 7-Eleven look cool.
right?
Just check it. I'm just saying. So what's up with the new album then?
Well, it's been a
40
long
years in the
time,
coming?
actually 2 years in coming, but the day has come and it was announced, what, last Tuesday? Last Tuesday, that the record will be released. Still, it wasn't coming out. They're just announcing that it'll come out November 10th. But they had there's one, they dropped, as the parlance of the day, they dropped the one single, and you can get that now you can go to Bandcamp or you can go to the Dischord site, I assume. Um, you can get the one song and you can pre-order the record, but that's all you can get. Uh, November 10th, the entire record is available. And you can download all the songs.
Tell me about your buddies who are on this record.
Oh my God, we have a plethora of people. The one that probably most comes familiar to you would be Brian Baker, plays guitar on a couple tracks. We have a song that was done with Daryl Jennifer from the Bad Brains. Him and my brother did the song, and then we re-recorded it in the studio. People like Mark Cisneros, and we have Bob Berkerac play some drums, who comes from my dad's band in the 60s called the Hangman. He's
Okay.
73. He's 73 years old, man.
Hey,
And he
look, at
came
this
out
age, you can't discriminate. You got to get the young ones, you got to get the old ones. We're all around.
exactly. No, but if you don't know the history of Bob Berkerac, who plays the track on this record, he was in the band The Hangman, and that was my father. My father managed them back in the day. And we have Joe Lally from Fugazi plays on a track with us. Mark Cisneros, Derek Decker.
So it must have been fun. It must have been fun bringing in your bros just to spice up this song, that
Dave,
song, that song.
absolutely. And I shouldn't forget Dave Grohl played on it, one of our old drummers. And it was very hectic because, yeah, we had 10 days to do 17 songs. And I should say also Ian is on this.
Hang on, 10 days to do 17 songs. Why did it take you so freaking long? Just asking. Were a lot of the songs 1 minute and 42 seconds, or did you
Hell
expand?
no, hell no. No. There is one song that's like a minute and a half, and the rest of them are your traditional song length, for lack of a better word, I guess.
I know you had a lot of under 2 minutes, early on, of course.
Early on, we did, yes. First couple of records.
What's the longest song you've ever recorded or played?
Oh God, that's a good one. I don't think. Well, Scream. Maybe Breastfed on Acid, which I don't think anybody ever heard.
I'm interested in hearing it, though. I like the concept.
One of Enoch Thompson songs.
Did you do a lot of acid, or were you part of the straight edge DC scene? I'm like,
Oh,
when I straight edge, I think that means a really sharp knife, but that's just me.
true. Yeah. No, not in the sense of you know, taking part in party favors. No, we were not straight edge, and we still drinking to this day.
Excuse me, though. What do you drink to this day?
We still drink to this day.
I
We
want to
always
know what
drink.
your favorite libation is.
Well, it depends on what time it is. But I'm
Ah,
always down a cold beer. Uh, I do like a Bloody Mary at the end of the day.
Bloody Mary at the airport mandatory. You know, I've got a
Oh,
new drink I'd love to expose you to. Tequila teaser, tequila, pomegranate molasses, lime, mint, club soda. That's if you
who
like
the-
to.
Have you ever had a Scotch Bloody Mary?
no, if they're Scotch in it, I don't think. Well, I guess I'm down to trying.
Yeah, it's better than you'd think.
What about a piece of pickled okra in it? That's when you know you're in Nashville at the airport. That's delish.
I haven't had that, but I love all things pickled. Tell you that.
Pickles, pickles.
So going back to the whole straight edge thing, I mean, was that the straight edge DC scene? Were they kind of? I guess they were pretty loyal to their commitment to that, but were they kind of righteous and turned their nose up against the people who, like yourself, who were
No,
drinking?
no. I mean, listen. I mean, the whole idea of it was basically um, when they first started having all age shows for bands that these guys wanted to go see, or we wanted to go see. Because before you had to be 21 to get no bar. And I forget which place it was that decided that, okay, and it was a good financial decision, by the way. They would let underage people in, but they would put an X on your hand. And if you had an X on your hand, you couldn't go up to the bar and get a drink. And so I would say that had Ian and the band and the whole, specifically Ian. I mean, he took that symbol and kind of wrote about, the angst, and he kind of took it a little step further, not with being straight edge, but the fact identifying them as the youth.
What's interesting is, of course, in New York in the late 70s, early 80s, nobody carded anybody. I don't even know how we got in, but they wanted us. Nobody, there was none of that stuff. But I think all ages shows are very important because kids need to see something that's going to further their consciousness, that's going to speak to their dilemma, that's going to understand their anger, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's so important, whatever
Yeah,
it takes.
yeah. And it's everybody else that took it a step further and became militant about it, and just beating people up because they saw it, they had a beer in their hand and stuff like that. But that wasn't where it came from. And he was just writing about being at the show and being the sober, clean guy. I mean, there's probably more to it in his mind, but you know what I'm trying to say? And that's where it all comes from. It's every other scene that co-opted it into a broader statement and lifestyle.
Well, what's interesting too is I faced a lot of um, prejudice both in New York and London because I didn't do heroin. It's like it's kind of the opposite of that. Well, what we're
That
talking
is,
about.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not a fucked up junkie, but and now I'm the suspicious one because I'm not drooling and puking. Give me a fucking break. But
Yeah,
it's
in
the
fact,
reversal of exactly what we're talking about here. It's like
yeah.
that's a perverse prejudice.
Yes, and our opposite to that is kind of like playing in the Midwest, and this is when Grohl was in the band, and he was only
That would be
18.
Dave Grohl.
Yes, and you had to be 21, and he would come in and do sound check. Then he'd have to go sit outside in the van and wait until we played, come in and play, and then he'd have to leave.
So how old was Dave Grohl when he was in Scream then?
Like
17?
18,
Oh, okay.
17, 18.
I mean, and 21 is ridiculous. I mean, you can buy a gun at what, 12?
Well, yes,
You can't go
And
into a
that's
club
what,
until you're 21 in some places.
this was what, 1985, 86? Yeah.
How did so but starting in Virginia, that must have really made you want to. I mean, I love Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. I love Kentucky, but I wasn't born there. I just am a nomad who visits or occasionally lives. That must have really made you want to run to your peeps.
Well, I mean, listen, Virginia was a great place to grow up, and it's kind of,
It's beautiful.
we didn't, it's beautiful, and it's part of my musical makeup. We grew up listening to Southern rock and Led Zeppelin and all this stuff. And,
Oh, and
you
I
know,
loved
the,
when you mentioned Voivod, which has been mentioned on this podcast a few times in the last few
oh my
weeks.
God,
No one ever mentions. I loved Voivod.
we
Oh, I
idolize
see. I
Voivod.
see. I see love in your eyes. Go ahead, tell me.
We love that band, and we got to meet them, and we actually played with them in Canada many, many, many years ago. Um, and when Pig passed, that was the end of that. The later iterations, they were cool, but man, I mean, Dave and I were listening to a lot of Voivod and a lot of Metallica and whatever else, but mainly those two records when we were screwing around on that final record we did. Um, that had a big influence on me, Voivod. I was telling this other guy that Voivod reminded me of Discharge.
Oh yeah, Discharge classic.
And how it's always like Discharge, wow, it seems like one long chord, and Voivod has that same sound to it. And the guy was like, come to think of it, that kind of makes sense. But anyway, I don't want to get off topic.
I have to investigate if Voivod is up to anything now because the other band I really love that people are like, whatever, Mars Volta. Kind of like my taste with Voivod. People are
Hold
like, what
on. Mars Volta.
weird taste in music. I love Voivod. I love Mars Volta. They were one of the best bands I've ever seen live. They invited me to play at all tomorrow's parties. I did a recording with Omar Rodriguez. I just think they're incredible. Yeah, unbelievable.
I've never gotten to see them, uh, but I am a big fan. Even the projects after that, but I can't really say much to them. I don't know them really. But I've always loved, the performances I've seen on YouTube and stuff
I
like
mean, I
that.
love the ballads, which is also bizarre. They're heartbreaking. But anyway, what other like music that you groove to that people just go, "Oh, really?" It's something you're like outside of the realm. Where do you go when you want to hear something?
Outside of the realm,
I mean, do you play
uh,
music when you're home, or do you just write music when you're home?
it's odd. I don't listen to much. I don't listen to as much music now as I used to. But my wife is always. She has got quite a plethora of music that she's always playing. But I mean, I don't even have iTunes except, I mean, it's on my computer, but I don't have any of that shit on my phone. I don't even have Spotify on my phone,
No, I don't know Spotify. Is there any kind of music you would like to do that you haven't done already, or anybody you'd like to play with? Like, again, go stepping outside of. It's not like you've just done what there's diversity in stream, but stepping outside of that. Have you done music for some soundtracks? I think you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I've done stuff for commercials, and I've done stuff for director shorts and stuff like that, and where I've been able to do whole orchestrations and stuff like that. I even almost had a musical get off the ground, but it was shelved, and I eventually want to come back to it.
What was the style of the music in your musical?
It was kind of, I don't it was kind of Bowie-esque, Elton John, at
Wait,
least a
wait, wait,
couple
wait,
of
wait,
them.
wait,
What?
wait. What era Bowie and what era Elton John? Because I just listened to Leave On the other night, which is maybe my only favorite Elton John song, Leave On.
I would
Okay.
say it's from that era. Because
Diamond
I really, no, it wasn't that. It wasn't a Mick Ronson kind of guitar influence thing. but it's a guitar in the song that starts off the song. It was, I don't know how to explain. It's just a rock song with some electronic drum in it. Put it that way. It was. I'm a glam rocker. No, I love glam rock.
Of course, so am I.
So you're
We
doing,
have
you're
more
doing
in
musical.
common than I thought.
So you're doing the orchestration. Like, can you read? Can you notate music?
I do not. I can read chord diagrams. That's about it.
Okay. Okay. So
Um,
how do you go? How do you go about
I
making the film
play it on
score?
a keyboard. I play it on a keyboard and assign different instruments,
Yep.
to what I'm playing, and I figure it out on piano a little bit, or guitar, and then it's a lot of chicken pecking, you know what I mean? Hen
Yep.
pecking.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do it like that. I'm not an accomplished piano player, but I think I can pick up any instrument and make a sound out of it,
Totally.
and play a
So
little bit.
how did you start getting into that field of work?
A director, that a friend of mine that I was doing shorts with, and last minute like favors, because I got a meeting tomorrow. I'm trying to push this thing. Can you do me an Indian version of what's that that famous Jewish song? I'm sorry, somebody just texted me.
Hava, Hava, Hava.
Baban, have you? Yes, that one. And I was like, of course you say yes to everything. And so I pulled the thing up, and all I did was replaced everything with tablas and sitar. I played the sitar myself, a guitar, but made it a
That's such a great
sitar.
instrument. Such great instrument.
Oh, I wish I had a sitar. I love Indian music. I think it's the most uplifting music I've ever heard. But anyway, it's that's how I did it. And of course, I had to work the next day, and I did it at 11 o'clock till 3 in the morning, and sent it over to them, and they use it. So stuff like that.
Cool.
But yeah, he's the one that approached me about doing this musical. He had an idea, so I ran it. I got the book. I read through the book, and I wrote 5 songs, and everybody fucking freaked and loved it. And I was kind of the impetus behind the whole ball getting rolling, because Elliot, he couldn't do music. He could only pitch this idea, and he couldn't even write the book. And for those not familiar with theater, there's not a script. The people that write the script, they call it a book. And so somebody writes the book, and that's where it all comes from. And you have one guy doing the book and one guy doing the music, or whatever. Several people doing the music, whatever.
So you're the musical interpreter.
Yes, and so it moved along quite well, and then it all kind of fell apart. And so I'm left. I have the music though, and I could do it anytime I wanted to, finding the right person. But I would definitely need somebody to write the book, the script, as it were. Only a 3 or 4 part musical, but the idea is fucking amazing.
It's very hard to get theater productions, together. I mean, it's something. Look, we book tours. We go on tour forever. We do that. Then when you go to
Right.
the go sideways into theater, there seems to be so many more restrictions. So you need so much more money. You need so many more permissions. It seems so complicated.
I'm telling you, it was crazy, and I never knew what he was doing behind the scenes. But I would be getting calls from producers in London. All of a sudden, I have an English producer, and then I would get a call from like one of the biggest fucking theater lawyers in New York asking me, when am I coming into town? I'm like, wait, what? Because I just wanted a little bit of money, so I could concentrate, because they wanted more songs, and I was like, I have to work during the week. I'll get to during the weekend, but he could never parlay that into, something for us so we could do the work. But I think once he found out that he was just a director, and it's usually the writer of the book and the music guy make most of the money,
Right.
he wanted like 50% of my music.
Oh God.
I didn't want to give him 50% of my music, but that wasn't the reason that it fell apart. It just he's an interesting guy. So We'll just leave
So
it
are
at
you
that.
going on to are you going on tour to promote the latest DC special
Yes,
record
we are.
that comes out
Yes,
in
we
November?
are. It
Where are you
comes
going?
out
All
November
over?
10th. Well, no, we're just doing a brief, like, 4-city run on the West Coast, LA, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, two days in Los Angeles. So it's 4 shows, 5 shows, and we replicated on the East Coast, like DC, Philly, New York, and Boston in
That's
December.
that's the
The
way it
West
makes
Coast,
sense. That's the way it makes sense to tour now, though, is you just go in little clumps because that's the way it makes sense. That's what we do.
yeah. And you do that in Europe, you go out and do the festival circuit and get in as many of those, because we all have proper jobs, or some of us have proper jobs. Um, so, and we're not making enough to where we can just blow off work, and just, hey, let's just live doing touring. It's like, no, we can't. So we're stuck with that. But I'm excited about it. And we have our friend Gizbutt, who my old friend, playing second guitar. And he comes, he's got a storied past. He used to play with the English Dogs and the Destructors and the Prodigy.
So what's the
Oh,
lineup?
interesting.
What's the lineup of these half a under 20 the Baker's dozen shows that are coming up? What's the lineup?
Well, like I said, Gizbutt on second guitar, me, my brother Peter, and Enoch Skeeter Thompson on bass, and Jerry Busher's playing drums with us now. We have a new drummer. Yeah, that's the lineup.
Sounds like it's gonna rock. So now, will this be
Uh,
mainly featuring the new album? You're gonna do, I mean, how many albums did you release anyway? Like eight,
what we-
10?
No, 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 no. We did 5. Well, this would be our 6th release from Dischord, but we also did a complete control session out here in LA. And what else? We have a couple live records. And
Because those only take one night to record and not 10 days, which is great. Hello. Just
Uh, well,
Yeah.
I mean, with your live record,
Speaking
did you go do the classic thing and go back and adjust a few things, or do overdubs, or was it just
No,
raw?
no, 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 no. What's that famous Deep Purple song?
I
Smoke,
wouldn't know. I hate
smoke on the water.
Smoke. We had the mobile truck come out. No, I'm just kidding. We did not have a mobile truck. No, we did one in Germany, did one in Holland, and they just recorded the live show, and it came out really well. We put it out. It was released.
Did you
Obviously,
do well in Europe? Did you do a lot of touring in Europe? More touring there than here, or more touring in the States?
absolutely more touring in Europe.
That's our story, yeah.
Yes, that's the typical story. Any band will tell you. They do way better, especially in Germany. We could probably tour Germany only and live off of it until everybody got sick of us. But yeah.
I'm in Germany right now as I speak. So
Oh,
yeah.
girl.
Yeah,
Where?
yeah.
Where in Germany?
Right now I'm outside of Munich. I have to fly back to New York tomorrow morning, so I just finished a
Oh,
tour.
okay.
Yeah.
We've got some shows with Retrovirus coming up in that great state of Florida and Georgia. Cannot
Oh,
wait.
good luck
Yeah,
with that.
we do so many
Uh-huh.
stories about the nightmare that is Florida, but anyway, we're just going to bring our own special nightmare there and try to.
Yeah, we used to do shows in Florida all the time back in the 80s when it was
Sure.
kind of cool. It was fun to go there. And
Yeah.
now I
Did you
wish it
ever
would
do
fall off
did you
into the
ever
ocean.
did you ever do the Sapphire Supper Club in Orlando?
No,
Remember that?
I don't
Maybe
even
it
know
was
what that is.
before you got there.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
new album by Scream called DC Special, featuring some of their buddies.
Best
Coming up now
buddies.
on Discord, November 10th. They'll be doing some shows. And it's been a real pleasure talking to you. We had more in common than I had ever thought we would.
Well, I want to say something real quick because we might have a mutual friend because you did a record years ago with Tony Schiffer on Crippled Dick Hot Wax.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah,
if you
yeah.
remember that.
With the Nubian
Look at-
Lights. Yes, I did.
Yes. He's a good old friend of ours from met him back in the day in the 80s. And
There we go. I'm sure there's
he ended
more
up
spider webs that connect us. But yeah, he ended up what?
he has a t-shirt company. He did a bunch of our shirts back in the day. Well, he had
Okay.
it later on. And we were just there, well, not just there. We were there in 2011 when I last saw him. But my brother told me to say that.
We
Bring
go
up
on
Tony
and
Schiffer.
we go on, and it doesn't look like anybody's stopping, at least not in this triad. So this
Nope.
is a Lydian Spin. Scream DC special out November 10th. Meantime, check out the single that's up everywhere. Tim Dahl, I will see you tomorrow. I'm sure you're going to be fit as a motherfucking fiddle to do the
Oh, yes.
rehearsal for Retrovirus. So, can't wait.
Yes. Well, it's been quite a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Have a great tour. Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.